The scream tore through the hospital room like a jagged blade, raw and unfiltered, but it wasn't mine. It was my son's, Daniel's, as he stared at the tiny bundle in the incubator. His face twisting into something unrecognizable, disgust masked as grief. "She's deaf. Completely deaf," he spat at the doctor, his voice cracking like thunder in the sterile air. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting harsh shadows on the linoleum floor, where my cane tapped uselessly, my arthritic knees buckling under the weight of what I was hearing. I reached out to touch the glass separating us from my granddaughter, her little fists clenched in silent protest, but Daniel yanked my arm back. "Mom, don't. This can't be our life." And in that moment, as his words hung heavy with finality, I felt the first crack in my soul, a visceral snap like bone breaking under pressure. Fury boiled up from my gut, hot and acidic, but I swallowed it, watching him sign the papers that would erase her from our family. He didn't know then that I'd spend the next 5 years unraveling his betrayal, learning the language he deemed worthless, to reclaim what he'd thrown away. And when I found her, oh God, the revenge I'd brew in the silence would make him wish he'd never spoken. I stumbled out of the hospital that day, the Chicago wind whipping my coat like an accusation, carrying the faint wail of ambulances in the distance. My hands trembled as I gripped the railing of the L train, the metal cold and unyielding against my palms. How could he? Daniel, my only child, the boy I'd raised alone after his father walked out on us for a bottle and a younger woman. I'd scrubbed floors, worked double shifts at the diner, all to give him a shot at something better. A college degree, a steady job in finance. And now this. His girlfriend, Sarah, had bolted right after the birth, leaving him with the baby. But deafness. That was his breaking point. I replayed his words in my head. "I can't raise a defective kid, Mom. It's not fair to anyone." Defective. The word lodged in my throat like a shard of glass, cutting deeper with every breath. Back in my cramped apartment on the south side, the walls closing in with their peeling wallpaper and the perpetual drip of the faucet, I collapsed onto the sagging couch. Heartbreak washed over me in waves, each one heavier than the last. I pictured the baby's face, tiny, perfect, with Daniel's nose and my late mother's eyes. What kind of world had I brought him into, where imperfection was a crime? Resentment simmered, slow at first, like a pot on low heat. I denied it, told myself it was grief talking. He'd come around. He'd fight for her. But days turned to weeks, and the adoption papers arrived in the mail, sealed with his signature. No remorse, just a curt note. "It's for the best." Humiliation burned in my chest. Humiliation for her, for the blood we shared, discarded like yesterday's trash. That night I couldn't sleep. The city sounds infiltrated my room. Distant sirens, the rumble of trucks on the expressway, neighbors arguing through thin walls. I paced, my mind a whirlwind of fantasies. What if I stormed his upscale condo in Lincoln Park, smashed his precious glass coffee table, screamed until my voice gave out? Justice, I thought, would be sweet, exposing him to his colleagues, his friends, as the coward he was. But doubt crept in like fog off Lake Michigan. Was I overreacting? He was young, scared. Maybe he regretted it already. Guilt twisted the knife. I'd failed as a mother, hadn't I? Raised a man who valued perfection over love. The obsession started small. I found myself staring at baby photos on my phone, zooming in on ears, wondering what sound she'd never hear. Then, one rainy afternoon, I wandered into the local library, the scent of old books and musty carpet enveloping me like a hug. I asked the librarian about sign language. American Sign Language. Sure, we have classes starting next week. It was impulsive, a way to feel connected to the ghost of my granddaughter. But as I sat in that fluorescent-lit community room, surrounded by strangers, a young couple, an elderly man, a teenager with hearing aids, my fingers fumbling through basic signs like hello and thank you, something shifted. This wasn't just learning, it was arming myself. If I could speak her language, maybe I could find her. Adoption records were sealed, but Chicago was full of networks, deaf communities, support groups. I'd infiltrate them, one awkward sign at a time. Years blurred into a routine of quiet determination. Mornings at the diner, flipping eggs and pouring coffee, the grease clinging to my skin like a second layer. Afternoons in ASL classes, my hands aching from repetition, the instructor's patient corrections echoing in my ears. Fingers straighter, Evelyn. Make it flow. Evenings scouring online forums. Deaf adoption stories flickering on my ancient laptop screen under the dim lamplight. Resentment grew roots, deep and tangled. Daniel visited sporadically. His expensive suits a stark contrast to my threadbare furniture. "How's retirement treating you, Mom?" he'd ask, avoiding my eyes. I'd force a smile, suppressing the rage bubbling beneath. "Fine. Learning new things." He never asked what. Inner conflict gnawed at me like termites in wood. Was this healthy? Obsession turned nights into battlegrounds. I'd lie awake, heart pounding, imagining reunions. In one fantasy I'd find her. Let's call her Lily, the name I'd whispered to her through the incubator glass. And we'd sign stories under a warm sun, Daniel watching from afar, broken. In darker ones, revenge took shape, exposing his abandonment, ruining his career. But fear held me back. What if she was happy? What if disrupting her life made me the monster? Moral quandaries twisted my gut. Revenge felt justified, yet poisoned. Cold resolve hardened over time, like ice on a winter sidewalk. I'd plan in whispers to myself, jotting notes in a hidden journal. Check deaf schools in suburbs. Network at events. One crisp autumn day, 4 years in, I attended my first deaf community picnic in Grant Park. The air was alive with laughter I couldn't hear in signs. Hands flying like birds, faces expressive under the golden leaves crunching beneath my shoes. I signed tentatively with a group of parents, my accent clumsy but earnest. "I'm looking for a girl, adopted around 2020, born deaf." Eyes narrowed, suspicions raised. But one woman, Maria, with kind eyes and a warm smile, signed back. "Why?" I hesitated, then poured it out. The betrayal, the abandonment. Her face softened. "I know agencies. I'll ask around." Hope flickered, fragile as a candle flame. Tension built slowly, like storm clouds gathering. Daniel's life flourished. He married a colleague, bought a house in the suburbs. At family dinners, rare, strained affairs, the absence hung like smoke. "Any grandkids on the horizon?" His wife Claire would joke, oblivious. I'd clench my fork, knuckles white, suppressing the urge to shatter the illusion. "Not yet," I'd say, my voice steady, but inside resentment festered. Guilt surfaced too. Had I pushed him too hard as a child? Made him fear failure? But no, his choice was his own, a betrayal of blood. Then the breakthrough. Maria texted me late one night, the phone's vibration jolting me from sleep. "Found a lead. Girl named Ava, matches description. Foster family in Evanston. They sign fluently." My heart raced, palms slick with sweat. Ava. Not Lily, but close enough. I drove there the next day, the highway blurring through tears. The house was modest, white picket fence dusted with snow. Peering through the window I saw her, a 5-year-old with wild curls, signing animatedly to her foster mom about a drawing. My breath caught, she had Daniel's nose. Obsession peaked. I had to get closer, but doubt crashed in. What now? Confront Daniel. Steal her back. No revenge needed precision. I enrolled in advanced ASL, mastering nuances. Facial expressions conveying tone, hands painting emotions. I volunteered at her school, signing stories to kids, inching into her world. She noticed me one day, her small hands signing. "Who are you?" I signed back, "A friend." My heart shattering anew. Heartbreak mingled with resolve. I'd build a bond, then reveal the truth, to her, to him. Suspense coiled tighter. Daniel called unexpectedly. "Mom, Claire's pregnant." "It's a boy." Joy should have come, but fury eclipsed it. Another child, while he discarded the first. I hung up, plotting. I'd wait. Gather evidence. Photos, stories. Make him face what he lost. Guilt warred with anger. Was I becoming him manipulative? No, this was justice. As winter thawed into spring, I signed with Ava daily. She called me Grandma Eve in jest, unaware of the truth. The moral gray deepened. I was lying by omission. But the plan solidified. Invite Daniel to meet someone special. Let him see her thrive without him. Then the twist. Reveal I'd legally pursued guardianship, using connections from the deaf community. He'd lose everything. Reputation, family harmony. Cold yes but poetic. The confrontation brewed like a storm over Lake Michigan. Dark clouds promising release. I stood in the Evanston Park, the grass damp underfoot from morning dew, watching Ava swing higher. Her laughter silent but her face alight with joy. Her small hands gripped the chains, knuckles pale, as the metal creaked rhythmically. 5 years of secrets led here. I'd petitioned for visitation rights anonymously, citing familial ties through sealed records I'd pried open with Maria's help. The foster parents, kind but overwhelmed, agreed to meetings. Now Daniel was coming. I'd texted him vaguely. Need to talk. Important. Meet at this park noon. My pulse thrummed, a mix of fear and exhilaration. Would he recognize her? Feel the guilt I'd nursed like a wound? He arrived punctual, his BMW gleaming in the lot, suit crisp against the casual backdrop of joggers and dog walkers. Mom, what's this about? His voice carried that edge of annoyance, eyes scanning the playground. I pointed to Ava, who waved enthusiastically, signing hi. He froze, color draining from his face. Who, what? Stammering, he stepped back as if she were a ghost. Heartbreak surged in me anew, but resentment fueled the fire. Your daughter, Daniel. The one you called defective. He denied it at first, the classic spiral, eyes darting, hands clenching. That's not. I didn't. Mom, you don't understand. We sat on a bench, the wood rough and splintered under my thighs, the distant hum of traffic underscoring the tension. Explain then, I said, my voice low, laced with suppressed rage. He confessed in fragments. Sarah's pressure, his fear of failure, the shame of a broken family. I thought adoption was kind. Gave her a better life. Lies all of it. I saw the manipulation in his eyes. The same boy who'd charmed teachers to cover skipped classes. But layers emerged. Guilt etched his features, real this time. I regret it every day, he whispered, voice breaking. Doubt flickered in me. Was this redemption? No, too late. Inner turmoil raged as Ava approached, signing questions about the strange man. I translated, my hands steady despite the storm inside. He's family, I signed, the irony bitter. Daniel watched, fascinated yet horrified. She signed so well, he murmured. Obsession had driven me here, but now moral conflict clawed. Was exposing him to her cruel? She was innocent. Yet resolve hardened. He'd feel the humiliation I'd endured. We met weekly after that, tension building like a taut wire. Daniel learned basic signs, fumbling sorry to Ava, who accepted with childlike grace. But I saw his motives. Salvage his image, perhaps claim her back for his perfect life. Claire joined once, her pregnancy swelling under a designer coat, eyes wide with shock. Daniel, you never told me. Her voice trailed, hurt raw. Suppressed rage simmered in her gaze, mirroring mine. Dialogue revealed cracks. How could you hide this? She hissed later, away from Ava. He placated. It was the past. But secrets unraveled. I whispered truths to Claire over coffee, the steam rising like accusations. He signed her away without a thought. Suspense mounted in quiet calculations. I documented everything. Photos of Ava thriving, emails from Daniel admitting regret. My journal filled with plans, leaked to his firm where image was currency. Fear gnawed. What if it backfired, hurting Ava? Guilt over my obsession surfaced in nightmares. Daniel's face contorted in pain, Ava crying silently. But betrayal's scar ran deep. He'd humiliated our bloodline. One evening in my apartment, the air thick with the scent of reheated stew, Daniel confronted me. "Mom, why dredge this up? Let it go." His tone manipulative, eyes pleading. I exploded, years of resentment unleashing. "You threw her away like garbage. I learned her language, searched for her, while you built your castle." He recoiled but fired back. "You pushed me too hard. Always expecting perfection." Truth stung. My own failings mirrored his. Moral gray deepened. We were both flawed, driven by pain. The climax approached like a crescendo. I arranged a family reunion at a deaf community center, the room buzzing with signed conversations, laughter echoing off colorful posters. Ava performed a signed poem, her hands poetic, face beaming. Daniel watched, tears streaming. Then the reveal. I'd filed for joint custody, using his abandonment as leverage. "You'll support her now," I said calmly, handing him papers. Shock twisted his features. "Mom, no. This will ruin me." But the twist came unforeseen. Claire, overhearing, stepped forward. "I'm leaving you, Daniel. And taking our son." Her voice steady, eyes cold. She'd uncovered more, his affairs, his lies. My revenge, meant to isolate him, had allies. He crumbled, begging, but it was done. Poetic justice. The man who feared imperfection lost his facade. In the aftermath, as Ava signed "I love you" to me under the center's warm lights, guilt mingled with relief. Obsession faded, replaced by quiet resolve. Revenge tasted bittersweet, necessary yet scarring. Daniel faded from our lives, a shadow of regret. And in the silence we found our voice.